the small but important things that people tend to overlook when managing their sites. So this presentation is built around those common blind spots and what you can do to fix them.
Iris is coming to you from the Amelia Capital. 30 things that we're forgetting when we maintain their sites.
They're actually 30.
30 things. That's a lot.
So the first thing I've got is your site language set correctly? It sounds simple, but it's often overlooked. So you should make sure that your site language in WordPress matches the actual language of your content. So if your site is in Dutch, don't leave it set to English. And this affects accessibility, screen readers, and even how Google indexes your website. So it's a small setting, but it has a big impact. The next thing is your time zone set correctly? And this one is also pretty easy to miss. So WordPress lets you set your time zone, but it's still on a GMT offset instead of your actual city or region. Scheduled posts or logs can be off, and it can cause confusion with publishing times, backups, or email timing. So make sure to always set your local time zone, like Europe, Amsterdam in my case, not just +1 or +2, because that might not move over correctly in terms of daylight savings as well. So now going to a little bit more technical stuff. So does WP Cron work? WP Cron is how WordPress handles scheduled tasks like publishing posts, checking for plugin updates, or sending emails. So it only runs when someone visits your site. So if traffic is low or something breaks, tasks might not run. So that can cause some actual problems. So for example, in WooCommerce, subscriptions might not renew, and that can be a problem. So we would recommend downloading WP Cron Status Checker to see if it works as you would expect. The next thing is, are your emails arriving? WordPress doesn't always send emails reliably out of the box. It depends on your host, if it's a good host or not. And that's why you often need an SMTP plugin. And that helps make sure your emails actually arrive, which is what you want, of course. So you should think about contact forms, password resets, order confirmation, or even fatal error alerts, which you want to receive. It also helps with email security and deliverability, and especially with DNS settings. So it's always a good idea to set it up, maybe with the help of WP Mail SMTP, plugin by WP Forms. Then moving over to comments, there's actually 2 scenarios. Do you need comments, yes or no? If the answer is no, if you don't use comments, just turn them off completely, and not just on the front end, but also block comment-related API calls. You can even hide the comment settings in your admin menu, so you aren't restricted by the options you don't need. Our very own plugin, Comment-Free Zone, makes this super easy to set up to make sure if you don't need comments, have a look at this plugin if you use WordPress. And if you do need comments, we can make the experience a little bit better for both for you and your visitor. So our plugin Comment Experience helps you manage comments more easily, and you can clean up notifications or send thank you mails and make moderation less of a hassle. Then your 404 pages, are they actually helpful? Does it help people find their way if they're lost? Our example from our own Progress Planner 404 page can be improved a little bit more, but at least there's a search bar so people can search for what they were actually looking for. But in other instances, you might think of related blog posts or latest blog posts, something to help people stay on your site and not have them move away immediately. Then turning off public errors. Debugging is important, but don't show your PHP errors on the front end. It can leak sensitive info about your site setup. And if somebody with bad intentions sees that, they might use it to hack your site, and it looks a little unprofessional. So especially to regular visitors. You can turn it off in your WP config PHP file or through SFTP if needed, but that's quite technical. So if you don't feel confident, make sure to ask some help. Then the next thing, did you delete your sample page? So when you first install WordPress, your site includes a default sample page, as you might have seen before. It's a placeholder page meant to demonstrate how WordPress pages work, but it's not intended to stay on your live website. So removing unnecessary default content like the sample page ensures your site is well organized, and it improves search engine visibility, and it eliminates security risk, and it looks a little bit more professional as well. After this session, make sure to check to see if your sample page is still there, and otherwise it's time to remove it. The same goes for the Hello World post, which is what you can see on the screenshot here is a quick Google search for Hello World, welcome to WordPress, and it shows endless results. So thousands of websites still have the default post live for the world. And it's a small detail, but also signals something bigger. Many sites are launched and then left untouched. So if you haven't deleted your first post, is it still on your site? Is it live? Make sure to check that. Then there's your site icon, or favicon, as you could call it as well. So setting a custom icon can help you stand out from other WordPress sites. And because it shows in your browser tabs, It helps users easily find your site when they've opened multiple tabs. And it can also be used by Google to display in the search results and is thus another way to stand out from your competitors. So we've added this check to Progress Planner to help you stand out from your competitors in the search results and in your browser as well. So now moving on from stuff during or after building to stuff that needs regular checking. So it's not setting and forgetting, which the other stuff isn't either, but it requires like a minimal check. These should be repeated more frequently. So backups, of course, are great, but only if they actually work. So you should test them in a while, whether you can restore one. And you don't want to find out that they're broken when it's already too late. Don't just store your backups on your same server. And if your sites get hacked, those backups could be gone too. Offsite backups are always the safest option. So make sure to test them and don't find out when you cannot do anything about it. Updates. So at Progress Planner, we flag if your site runs an outdated PHP version. So anything below version 8. So PHP 8.1 also loses security at the end of the year, security support. So every new version of PHP makes your site a little bit faster and more secure. So it's definitely smart to make sure that you're updated to the latest version or a newer version at least. So, but just don't update your WordPress and plugin. Make sure to check your PHP version too, and always test before updating and backup, so you can always restore. Then you should also regularly check your users. So you should check, are there people who left my company who still have a role in there? Do they still need this access, or do they need a different role? Are they maybe admins? And can they also be like, have a little bit more minimal role? And does everybody have two-factor authentication enabled just for security purposes? Then you should also check your databases. WordPress stores a lot of data in the options table, like plugin settings. And either after deleting a plugin, those settings often stay behind. And that's usually to preserve them if you reactivate them. But over time, it can clutter your database, and it can even slow down your site by loading unnecessary stuff. We have an AAA option optimizer plugin that shows you what's being auto-loaded, and it helps you clean up what you don't need. Are you auto-deleting your form entries? Form entries are also often stored in your database, and they can really pile up. And if you don't need to keep them forever. And make sure to set your plugin to auto-delete after a set time, like 90 days. It saves space, but it's also GDPR compliant. And not all plugins support this, but for instance, WS Form does this right off the box. So that's what we would recommend trying out. So an honest question right now, an honest answer. When did you last test your contact form? So we already talked about email sending, but when was the last time you actually tested the contact form? Does it still work? Do messages actually arrive? Is the form complete and user-friendly? Are the questions still right? If you're having a broken or confusing form, it often means misleads, so check it regularly and not just when you launch the website. The next thing is your privacy policy. You did create one, did you? No, laws around privacy keep changing, and your site probably changes too. And if you added new tools or plugins or forms, your privacy policy might need an update. So make sure it reflects what you're actually doing with the user data. It's not just a legal checkbox, but it builds trust with your visitors as well. Moving on to accessibility. Accessibility often gets overlooked, but it's really, really important, and it makes sure everyone can use your website, including people with disabilities. And the good news is you don't have to guess what needs fixing, because it can be a hard concept to grasp and understand. But the accessibility checker plugin works like a spell check, but for accessibility. So when you write or edit a page, it scans your content for issues like missing alt text or incorrect heading order, and it tells you exactly what you should fix and why that matters. So it's a simple step, but it makes your site more inclusive and thus professional. Then moving over to security. Keeping your site secure means more than just doing updates. Tools like PatchTech can help by scanning your WordPress core, plugins, and themes for known vulnerabilities. And it warns you early, and you can even apply virtual patching, which is really cool, so issues get fixed before hackers find them. And also with laws like the Cyber Resilience Act, this kind of proactive security is becoming a new standard. And it's not just about protection, it's about staying ahead of the... So how's your website traffic? Do you know which pages people are actually visiting? Are they finding what you want them to find? Or are they mostly landing somewhere you don't want them, somewhere unexpected? Checking your traffic helps you spot missed opportunities, like blog posts that are getting a lot of views but has no call to action. So an opportunity, optimize that. So you could use tools like Google Analytics or Plausible Analytics to stay in the loop and just adjust your content strategy if needed. So when did you last test your checkout? Things break, like updates, plugins, or even a small setting can change and mess up your website or your checkout. So when was the last time you went through a full process yourself? Can you actually complete a purchase, or is it hard, or is everything clear for the customer? So lost sales often come from broken or confusing checkouts, and you might not even know it's happening. So that would be a shame if people are trying to buy from you, but they cannot succeed. So make sure to test it regularly, especially after you've updated stuff on your websites, and test all paths. Then, is your robots.txt up to date? So the robots.txt file tells the search engine where it's allowed to go on your website, and by default, WordPress generates a robots.txt file with specific content. But when you create a robots.txt with Yoast SEO, for instance, it'll replace the original one, and make sure to include a link to your sitemap, which makes it easier for search engines to crawl your site. There's also been lots of discussion about blocking AI agents, and we would recommend not blocking AI agents. Of course, this is a personal choice, but with the ever-changing world of the internet and Google, and it's good to allow them to come crawl your content as well. Then your page speed. Page speed affects everything on your website for the experience of the user. So it's user experience, SEO, and even conversion rates. So slow sites frustrate visitors and drive them away. So a tool like PageSpeed, Google PageSpeed Insights, can show you what's slowing things down. And it can be large images or unnecessary plugins or bloated themes. So make sure to check this regularly so you don't have to chase a perfect score, but you want a site that feels responsive and fast. So how can you make a habit of doing that and checking that regularly? Then moving on to uptime. If your site goes down, do you actually know it's down? You could be losing sales, leads, or trust and not notice until someone tells you, which would be a shame. And that's why uptime monitoring in real time matters. Even a few hours of downtime can make a big impact, especially if you have a busy or e-commerce website. Okay, now moving on to content stuff that needs checking. So I think number 23, could be wrong, is about your about page and if it's still up to date. And it's often one of the most visited pages on your website. But when was the last time you looked at it? Does it still reflect who you are, what you do, and what makes you different? Are the people that are on there still in your company, or is your vision or your mission statement still correct? And even in Progress Planner, we help you build an about page with all the essential elements. So we help you see what you need to make it clear and trustworthy. So it actually helps convert visitors into customers. And while you're at it, don't forget to check your contact page too. Then your copyright year, it's a little bit trivial as it says, but it does show that you're still an active website. It's in use, it's been looked at, and it's attention to detail. So make sure to have the correct dates at the bottom of your footer. Then moving over to tags or categories. And so if you have empty or almost empty tags and categories, your site can feel messy and unhelpful. So both for your visitors and also for search engines. So if a tag only links to one post, it's probably not adding value. So clean them up or merge them where it makes sense, and it helps with navigation, SEO, and gives your site a little bit more polished and intentional feel, which makes it easier to navigate. Then broken links. Broken links make your site feel neglected. They're frustrating for users, bad for your SEO, and they can break trust. So it's all over bad stuff. It's not just about missing pages. Think about broken images, embeds, or even social media links. We actually ran a Progress Planner Pro challenge on this a couple of months ago, helping people audit and fix their links step by step. So if you missed that, it's a great one to revisit. We're going to repeat this yearly. So feel free to join one if you want to. We can help you with that. Then the content audit. Your content shouldn't be set it and forget it. So over time, things change, your business evolves, best practices shift as well, and even info may become outdated. So make sure to regularly review your pages and posts. And is the advice you given them still correctly or accurate, or are there any old offers in there or broken links, as we talked about before? In Progress Planner, we do recommendations where we remind you to do content audits as well, so you know what actually needs looking at and hasn't been looked at in a while. Finally, some harder questions that are a little bit more technical as well. It makes you think a little bit more. So when did you actually check your Google Analytics for the last time? And is it worth the cookie it drops? So every tool you add drops a cookie, like Google Analytics, and it comes with a cost. Performance, consent banners, legal compliance. So ask yourself, is this tool really worth it? So if you're not actually using the data, maybe it's time to do a retool. And we often recommend switching to something like Plausible, which is privacy friendly, no cookies, and still gives you the insights you need. So it doesn't do the cookie pop-up while actually being GDPR compliant as well. And when did you last check your Google Search Console? And it really should be checked. So Google Search Console gives you a ton of useful information, what people actually search for on your website and how often your pages show up in the search engines and whether they are indexing or if they have any mobile issues, for instance. But when did you actually last check it? So more importantly, even what are you actually doing with the stuff you're measuring? If you're just collecting data and not acting on it, it's time to rethink how you're using these tools as well. All right, so we covered a lot. So I would say 30 things that are easy to overlook, but do make a big difference once you all add them up and incrementally improve your website as well. The good news is also you don't have to do it all at once. You can just pick and improve wherever needed, and you don't have to figure it out all alone. At Progress Planner, we help you stay on top of this stuff through our recommendations that I talked about previously, and we do it step by step, challenge by challenge. And if you're ready to maintain your website with less stress and more structure, you should definitely give Progress Planner a try. We have a free version and a pro version as well. So let's see what you think. And I think that was it. So thank you so much.